ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Alright, so basically today what I want to do is go through and showcase one of my Firefox plugins, as well as just show you how to go through and use it, and just, the controls and the logic, and just kind of how cool the plugin is in general, besides just showcasing it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up actually one of my Firefox windows here, and this is the plugin. So Easy Session Manager is the plugin that I've created, and you can find it by going to Firefox add-ons and then just typing that into the search, or typing my handle IT Dominator and then finding it from that method. Okay, and so what Easy Session Manager does really is it allows you to manage your tabs, okay, and more specifically allows you to save your tabs and import your tabs and open your tabs in either a separate window or in a current collection of windows and all that. Okay, so it's pretty powerful, and it allows you to also edit your tab collection. It's just pretty powerful. So let's go ahead and actually just show it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on the Easy Session Manager button. As you'll see, I actually already have a couple of collections created, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on OK. And I'm just going to go through and delete all of them so that we have a fresh start, okay? And I don't even actually have to keep on clicking OK specifically. I can just click off of the window itself too. Anyway, so when you freshly open up Easy Session Manager, you're going to go through and find this interface, and there is no text to explain the controls, but the reason being that the controls themselves are pretty self-explanatory if you look at them. Even then, if you are not certain what those controls do, you can hover on them to see what they do, because a bubble will pop up telling you what they do. So in this instance, I'm hovering over the save button, and in the other instance, I'm hovering over the edit button, and so on and so forth. Okay, but so at the top, as you'll see, we have the controls for save, edit, and delete. And below it, we have two checkboxes, with one being replace current tabs and the other option being selective open. And then of course, below that, we have a what looks to be an upload button, but rather is called the import button. And then we have, of course, a donate button and download button. Okay, and so we're going to go into these features and show you how to use them maximally and optimally and all that, and yeah, go from there. So the first thing is that we can't really do anything beyond import or save. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and actually save, and we're going to call it over here, we're going to call it main. Okay. And so when we're saving, we can go through and actually select from the windows that are currently open what we want to save in this quote-unquote session name, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and actually just save all of them, because there aren't that many tabs open, okay? So that's one method of handling it. Now, if we have session saved, we can go through and import it. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and actually first show you how you can download a session that you've already saved by clicking on that session. And when you click on the session, it will highlight it as green, okay? Which means that it's active. So you can now do things like edit that session, delete that session, or download that session. And so on the bottom, we'll click on the download button, and it'll say what do you want for the name, as well as it gives you the option to append date. And so in this instance, I'm not going to append the date, but I'm going to go ahead and call it session main. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK and call it save file. Okay. Now, if you want to import it, we can go through and click on the import button. It'll take you to the window, and we can click on this. And then from there, we can double click on the import session thing, and we can now name it whatever we want to name it. So we can call it main 2. Okay. And so from there, voila, we have now imported that session to our collection. And so now we have main 1 and main 2 imported. And we can do things like edit or delete them. So for instance, I don't want to have main 1 present anymore because I imported main 2. I'm going to go ahead and click on the delete button, which is the trash can, and click on OK. And we have deleted it. Cool, awesome. Now, I don't like the fact that main 2 is called main 2 because I no longer have main 1. And so I want to rename that. To do so, all we got to do is click on the edit button and then change the name of main 2, okay? And then click on OK. And now we've overwritten that main 2 session, as well as renamed it to the main, okay? But we can also, as you'll note, checkmark or uncheckmark what tabs we want to keep. So not only can you rename it to something, so for instance, we can name this primary, P-R-I-M-A-R, primary, for instance, but we can also say only uncheckmark what we don't want from that session anymore, okay? And so when we do that, when we click on OK, we have now overwritten that primary, or we've overwritten that session, renamed it to primary, and only now have one tab in the collection, okay? And so we have that in the tab. Now it's worth noting you can actually have an empty collection. Okay, so and what's useful for that is because why that's useful is, for instance, if we were to have something called temp as the session, you can use that to then spawn off different sessions from that. So what do I mean? Well, let's go ahead and say that we don't like the fact that primary is empty, because if we do go ahead and attempt to edit it, well, we can click on OK, it's still empty, but we can't really edit it because there's nothing in it. Well, we can actually save over that primary session. We can save over any session that we have by clicking it and selecting it, and then clicking Save. And you'll see that Save Now is auto-filled with the session name, and then of course shows you the current tabs that are open in the windows, in your windows. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and boom, we're good to go. Now, let's say I want to spawn a separate session from primary. Let's say that we like primary, but I have add-ons, and I want to have my add-ons from primary be moved over to a different session collection. So I'm going to call it add-ons. Okay, I'm going to call this add-ons. Now I'm going to click on create new session. Okay, and from there I can unselect all. I'll check mark this, and I'm going to unselect all. And from there, click on OK. Now I have add-ons that I can go through and of course edit accordingly or rename. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on cancel because I don't want to, of course, edit that right now. Okay, all right. Well, at this point, it's worth noting that we can, of course, go ahead and open these tabs. And that's kind of like the key thing, obviously, in some sense, is that you want to open your tabs in some form or fashion, right? Because you've saved them, right? So we can say, we've saved them, we now want to open them. So as you'll see, we have two checkmark boxes, replace current tabs and selective open. By default, what will happen is if you want to open something, it will do a selective open, and so you can select what you want to open from one of those session collections or the tab collections, right? So, and it will open in a new window. Okay, so it will keep this collection of tabs, and it will open up another window with your collection of tabs that you want to open. Okay, so if I go ahead and to open it, I want to double click on the session. Okay, and say I want to open up only the first one. I can do so by clicking on OK, and you'll see that the window opens up to Easy Session Manager. I now have 3 tabs open, right, with all my information. Well, let's say I want to replace that, and I don't want to selectively open, but rather would just like to do replace current tabs. What that'll do with me then is if I double click on primary, it'll replace all my current tabs with the tabs that were in that primary collection, and rather it's better to as an example to do add-ons instead. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on add-ons. I am actually doing a selective open. I'm going to cancel that because that's not what I want to do. I'm going to replace current tabs and not do a selective open. I'm going to go ahead and double click on add-ons, and as you'll see, all my windows are closed, and then add-ons, both tabs are opened. Okay, we can also of course do selective open and do add-ons, and then just, well, actually it'd be better to just do selective open for this, for primary, uncheck mark this, and say, actually, let's check mark this, and yeah, we'll have all of that open. We can go ahead and click on that, and boom, we can open up all those tabs as well. Okay, and so you'll see that there are many ways to go and approach how you want to manage your tabs, save your tabs, etc. Whether you want to spawn it from a current collection and creating a new session from that current collection, or overriding a session by just clicking on it and then saving again, etc. You have many ways to edit the collection and go from there. Okay, and yeah, I think that covered it. I don't know if I imported it or not. I think I did an import show. Yeah, I did. Okay, and yeah, so that covers it. That is how you use the Easy Session Manager. If you all find it useful, you can click on the donate button, and what it will do is redirect you to my PayPal, and you can then offer an amount that you want to offer, and then from there pay me some coffee money or something like that, and support the plugin, because it's not easy going through and maintaining the plugin, updating things as appropriate, etc. I do want to mention something before I finish the video off, and that is that it is worth noting that if you have a very large list of tabs saved, and what I'm going to do is actually show you by moving over here to transition to this. I have, for instance, this is my primary collection. So if I have for instance, my anime, and I want to open it. It is worth noting that a lot of tabs will slow down the machine because, of course, they're all opening up in the background. This is not a function of the plugin, but rather of Firefox and the way that Firefox handles tabs. I wish there was a way to basically quote-unquote open the tab without actually loading the page. I am not presently aware of any functionality or feature for Firefox that has that functionality or feature. Okay, so it is worth noting that if you have a large list, that it can of course slow down your machine and all that, depending on how much RAM you have, because Firefox can get pretty bloated if you have a lot of tabs open. But if you do have a lot of tabs open and you open them up, you can go through and wait for a few seconds as they're quote-unquote opening, and then what you can do is actually just quit Firefox and then restart Firefox. And so Firefox will then basically have that collection of tabs opened again, but it won't open each individual tab because it's lazy loading those tabs in that instance. So I really wish that Firefox basically had a lazy load functionality for tabs. They don't, that I'm aware of, but when they do, I will be adding that functionality to this so that I don't, so that you can load large quantities of tabs without actually having them consume memory. Anyway, that really covers the Easy Session Manager plugin. Thank you very much for watching. Please rate, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you all later.